So the topic we will talk about is the drugs addiction. And our team is Yared, Leonardo, Axel, Patricio, Ximena, and me, Fátima. So first we will introduce the topic. Have you ever taken drugs or have you been affected? If your answer is yes, then you have to know the consequences of this substance and how this affects your body in the different ways. So it's important to know this because young people are faced with the many influences to use both illicit or illicit drugs. And education can play a contrabalancing role in showing the active forms of the drugs. Next. So, drugs education is a serious problem that the young people have to learn. And some examples of people who have drug abuse is Robert Downey Jr., the actor that interprets Iron Man, Demi Lovato, the singer, and Carrie Fisher, the actor that does the character of Leia in Star Wars.
So first we're going to talk about the most common drug that is marijuana. The marijuana came from the plant of cannabis and its characteristics are it's a smoke in rolled cigarettes called joints or in pipes. And marijuana can also be mixed with food such as the famous special brownies or cookies, or it can be drunk as a tea. There are so many effects on the body, but the effects by smoking is a sense of elation that can start within a minute a peak after 10 to 30 minutes, and the feeling of the drug will typically wear off after about 2 hours. And the effects by ingesting, they will usually feel the effects within 1 hour, and the sensation like itching will peak after 2 and 3 hours and a half. And when you consume this drug in a long time, you can start seeing changes in the brain that can occur that lead to a cannabis use disorder. This disorder is when a person experiences withdrawal symptoms that they are not taking the drug. It may affect about the 30% of people who consume cannabis. Abstinence after as abstinence effects, its symptoms may include irritability, mood changes, insomnia, cravings, restless, decreased appetite, and general discomfort, high body temperature, and some kind of body shaking. And here we have a picture of how the eyes change when you consume the marijuana.
Okay, next we are gonna talk about the cocaine. The cocaine is a drug derived from the cocoa plant and generally has the appearance of a white powder. This cocaine powder is often snorted through the nose or it can be dissolved in water and injected into the veins. The most important effects are that people who use cocaine generally feel euphoric, energetic, talkative, and mentally alert, particularly with regard to visual, auditory, and touch sensations. This drug can also temporarily decrease appetite and the need for sleep. Some people find that the drug helps them perform some simple tasks, both physical and intellectual, faster, while others have the opposite effects. The consequences are that some people who use cocaine have reported restlessness, irritability, and anxiety. They may also have tremors, dizziness, muscle spasms, or paranoia. Additionally, there can be serious medical complications associated with cocaine abuse, and some of the abstinence effects are that the fatigue, the lack of pleasure, anxiety, and irritability, drowsiness, and sometimes agitation, and finally the extreme paranoia or suspicion.
The LSD is a colorless, colorless, and tasteless rock that has an effect that alters how you perceive the space and the time. There are a famous symptom of consuming LSD is that you can hear colors or see the sounds. The LSD in a normal dosage doesn't have any consequences on a physiological level, but on a in a physiological, but have it on a psychological level. Um, and if it's mixed with other substances, consuming to a high dose, going through a road, or having a genetic predisposition, can produce a bad trip. This is characterized by panic episodes with terrifying hallucinations, agitations, tremors, and high blood pressure. It is limited in a time, although it can last more than 24 hours. So this is a little bit too scary for me. The addiction. The LSD is not considered an addictive drug, but it does cause um, resistance. So this can make you to consume more LSD um, to the time you consume it. This is why the LSD is a little bit dangerous because in large quantities it could be lethal.
Okay, now we're going to talk a little about heroin. First of all, what is heroin? Heroin is an opioid drug made from morphine, a natural substance taken from the seed pod of the various opium poppy plants grown in Southeast and Southwest Asia, Mexico, and Colombia. Heroin can be a white or brown powder, and some other common names of it which would include Big H, Horse, Hell Dust, and Smack. How do people use heroin? Some people inject or sniff, snort, or smoke heroin. Some people mix heroin with crack cocaine, a practice called speedballing. Okay, what are the effects of heroin? Heroin enters the brain rapidly and binds to opioid receptors on cells located in many areas, especially those involved in feelings of pain and pleasure, and in controlling heart rate, sleeping, and breathing. Some short-term effects are dry mouth, warm flushing of the skin, heavy feeling in the arms and legs, severe itching, and etc. Some long-term effects that are from people who use heroin over the long term may develop insomnia, collapsed veins for people who inject the drug, damaged tissue inside the nose for people who sniff or snort, infection of the heart, lignin and valves, abscesses, and so much more effects. Okay, those who are addicted to heroin not only became physically dependent on the substance, but are also afraid to stop using for fear of the symptoms they might experience when they stop using it. Withdrawal symptoms from heroin can develop as soon as a few hours after sustained use, that include extreme sweating, nausea and vomiting, cramping, um, runny nose, fever, and also can include death.
Okay, let's talk about the methamphetamine. This drug is a potent physicostimulant belonging to the phenethylamine family and to the amphetamine group. It can be injected, snorted, or smoked. In addition to this, it is one of the drugs that causes the most suffering and among us that generate the most intense addiction. It usually occurs in the form of colorless, transparent crystals. The most important effects of this drug are that is the increased attention and decreased fatigue, the increased activity and wakefulness, the decreased appetite, euphoria and haste, the increased respiration, rapid and or irregular heartbeat, and hyperthermia. The consequences of this drug is that regular users suffer from physical effects such as thinning, severe tooth decay, tooth loss, and skin sores. These dental problems can be due to a combination of poor nutrition and poor dental hygiene, as well as dry mouth and grinding of teeth caused by this drug. Some of the abstinence effects are that it can be highly addictive, and when a person stops using it, the symptoms can be the anxiety, the fatigue, the deep depression, the psychosis, and the strong cravings for this drug.
Okay, so let's talk about the tobacco. Tobacco is made from the leaves of tobacco plants. It contains nicotine, which is an addictive drug, and when you smoke tobacco in cigarettes, cigars, or pipes, you absorb toxic and cancer-causing chemicals that affect your health. Sorry. Tobacco contains a highly addictive stimulant alkaloid that is nicotine, as well as armada alkaloids. And well, some effects of inhaling tobacco are the in low quantities there are initial stimulation that it reduces the brain activity and the nervous system also, increased alertness and concentration, and some feelings of mild euphoria, feelings of reduction, increased blood pressure and heart rate, decreased blood flow to fingers and toes, decreased skin temperature, and dizziness, nausea, abdominal cramps, and vomiting, headache, and coughing due to the smoke irritation. This is in low quantities. So in higher quantities, it can increase the unpleasant effects, feeling faint, confusion, rapid decrease in blood pressure and breathing rate, and respiratory arrest, stop breathing, and death also. And in long-term effects of smoking, it can increase the risk of stroke and brain damage, eye cataracts, and, and yellowing of white of eyes, and loss of senses and smell and taste, yellow teeth, cancer of the nose, lip, tongue, and mouth, possible hearing loss, and shortness of breath, clogging also, cancer, lung cancer, emphysema pulmonar, heart disease, high blood pressure or hypertension, stomach and bladder cancers, stomach ulcers, decrease of appetite, and gray appearance. And there are lots of consequences of smoking. And also, the effects of tobacco abstinence can be anger, anxiety, depression, difficulty of concentration, impatience, insomnia, and restlessness. And these are some symptoms that the body can have.
Alcohol. What is it? No, alcohol has ethanol or ethyl alcohol. Is the ingredient found in the beer. because drunkenness is formed with the different sugars of food. The consequences is that when you have excessive alcohol you consume it, you could have serious problems like high blood pressure, heart disease, liver disease, and digestive problems, cancer of the breast, mouth, throat, esophagus, etc. And special data of the alcohol is that when you're drunk, you say the truth, and that's why they say that both kids and drunk people say the truth. The legal age in USA and Mexico are 18 and 21. But when you're 18, in some places they ask you an ID. An ID is like an identification that you can drink, but you can do a fake one. In the USA, is the normal age is 21, but if you drink at the age of 18, you have to be supervised for an adult. In the famous people also has problems of drinking when they got a depression or they are passing a bad moment in their career. Next one. The illegal ways to drink, as I said, in the old countries, the kids could use fake IDs at a younger age, but if they know it, the police they can be punished, or him or the adults that accept to do that. That's all.
So finally, as a conclusion, we can understand that there are so many effects by consuming the drugs. They can be as anxiety, and the most common is the oh, I forgot the name. The most common is anxiety and, and body shaking when you have the abstinence of this drug. And it's important to learn all this because all the generations are changing, and because they are changing, they take the best way to how can you say that, to feel better with yourself is by consuming these drugs to feel happy or to forget all the problems that you have. And it's not a good way to consume these drugs. So don't consume drugs. And otherwise, we can say that some drugs, they are used now as a medical, oh, I forget the name. As a medical use, some drugs are medical use, but you need a recipe to consume these drugs, and that's all. And this is our reference. Thank you.